Hi BTS friends, BTS Noonas here. I wanted to come and talk to you about my pit experience at the Staples Center LA. The reason being is before when we got the tickets, we were so nervous about what would happen. So we did all this research on YouTube and found some helpful information. But one thing that was missing was some details about it that we really wanted to know about. So now that we've experienced it, I'm here to share it with you, and hopefully someone will find it helpful in figuring out your own pit experience. Okay, so like I said, we had the LA one, and as you know, the Army lined up days ahead of time before the first concert, and we really had no choice. We were flying there. It made us quite nervous that people were already there, but we really couldn't do anything. We weren't arriving into LA until the afternoon, the day before our concert. So how it worked is because people were lining up so quickly, we decided to go ahead and line up, because at the time the Staples Center tweeted out that they were recognizing this unofficial line that the Army had created. So we won't dispute or not whether this is fair or not to have this unofficial line, but at that time they recognized it, and we just felt like we should go ahead and join it. So how it worked is we got there, and some of the Army that was organizing the line, they came through and put a name down on the notebook that they had, which numbered everyone, and then they numbered our hands to keep the order. So that was really helpful. One tip to know about is if you're doing this again, is that we made friends with some nice Army behind us, and so when we went for a break to go get some lunch or something, they were able to vouch for us when they came and did periodic checks throughout the day and night to make sure that there was somebody in line from your party. So that's one thing to remember. That was kind of one of the rules we didn't realize, is you must always have somebody there in your party in line when they're doing the roll call again, just to kind of keep things fair. So after that, once we got our numbers, we just kind of hung out there. It was quite safe, actually. There was hundreds of us there, and the police were quite nice, and they were there for all day. So not like this is something I would recommend, but just so you know, it was at least quite safe. So the next morning, the Staples Center recognized that line, and at 10 o'clock, they filed us one by one in order to get our official Staples Center wristbands. That was actually quite organized. I was really impressed. They would say, hey, if you're 1 through 50, come up to this place, and then they wristbanded us in order. Their wristbands had their own serial number. So by the time we got in line in the afternoon beforehand, we were about 290s. When we got the official wristband, we were probably in like the 300 something. So we're about 30 off from where we started, which I think is quite good. So once we got the official bracelets, that took a while. I think they said the day before it took a couple hours, so be ready for that. So once we got our official wristbands, the great thing was they let us leave. So we didn't have to come back until before the concert. They asked us to come back at 4:30 that day to realign with everybody. So we came back around 4, and the line was already starting to form. And they were very vigilant on making sure we get in the right line again. So no worries there. But we did have to wait a couple more hours before the doors opened. I think they opened at like 6:30, and the concert didn't start until 8. So you can imagine it's quite a long day. So once we're in line, we then, the doors opened and we went through security, and everybody's bags did get checked. So that's one tip. If you're really nervous and don't want to get held up in that process, don't bring a bag. That way you can kind of breeze right through and walk through. Because after that, you then had to go pick up another bracelet to identify that you're part of the pit area. And once that happened, you can then finally go into the pit area. So once we were there, the barricade was honestly mostly taken already. So since we were about 300, I would guesstimate you'd probably need to be like about the first 100 to get barricade. And when we went in, I'll show you the graphic of the arena. So when we went in, where it filed first is, so for this tour they had a diamond, and so most of the people filled up the front of the diamond, and by the time we got there, it was pretty deep in, and probably at least a dozen rows and quite crowded. So even though that was our preferred spot, we decided to try somewhere else. So we came to the back of the diamond instead, because we still wanted the extended stage, and we got second row there. So I felt like that was a really good spot, and really great views. So some things to think about. That was a surprise for us. was the pit was not that big, first of all. So we had heard before the concert that no view is a bad view, even from the very back, and it is really true. We were just so skeptical looking at fan cams. It seems so big, but the pit area is not that big. So even if you got worst case the very back, which is not going to happen, it was a great view from the extended stage and the main stage. I promise you can see them very well. The other thing that I was really surprised by, based on fan cams, the pit looks so full. Like, it looked like there's so many people, and that's actually not the case. For fire marshal reasons, it's not very full, and of course, unfortunately, with the scalpers, I would say the pit is only about 2/3 full, so that left a lot of rooms, especially on the sides, for where we're at. So that was another surprise. I would say the third thing that was a big shock is once we got in line, the third row army got behind us, and they mentioned that they had school that day. So they obviously were wristbanded much later than us, and they got third row in the pit. So I think lesson learned from there is honestly, unless you're just dying to be in that front part, there's no hurry in getting in line, because you're still going to get really good seats if you come in later. And I would say the other thing that was interesting is, again, the distance. So there's that extended stage from the main stage. It seems like a really long catwalk, but it actually is not that long. So once again, the extended stage is not that far from the main stage, and even if you're in the back, you still get a really good view. So that was a surprise. And again, the sides were not very full. Honestly, where we're at on the side was only about half full. So thankfully, I had a really nice army behind me. She let me out sometimes because I get kind of claustrophobic. And so I walked out and had nobody around me. It was so nice to get a breather, watch the main stage while they're there. So that's another thing to consider, is just, don't crowd each other. It's okay. You can kind of move around in the pit. And actually, a lot of people did that. So the ones that were kind of in the back, they were up front in the main stage, and they would kind of move behind us during the extended part. So there was a lot of moving around in the back of the pit. And I would say, the last thing, just some things to think about that we learned from being in the pit, some etiquette. I would say, first of all, when you get there, you have a couple hours to wait. Just sit. We were so lucky that the army around us did that, because we got to rest our legs for a couple hours, versus some other people were very nervous and stood. I would just say, everyone just sit and relax. Another thing to think about is be really respectful of the headbands that you have and the signs that you have. Those really honestly got in the way. I'm quite short. I'm only 5'2", 5'3". So the big headbands, beautiful headbands that everyone made, and the cute banners, honestly got in my way a lot. So I would say, please be respectful. If someone is short behind you, please consider that. And just last, no pushing. That pushing and shoving already started even before the concert started. There's just no need for that, because we can all see the boys from there. We'll get a good view, and just if everyone can kind of give each other your space, it'll be okay. But anyways, at the end of the day, it was such a great experience. We saw them up close, so close, you can see J-Hope's dimples and RM's dimples, and it was great, and we had such a fun time with everyone around us. So make it a great concert experience. I hope y'all enjoyed this, and it was helpful for you, and good luck in standing in line. Just don't worry, relax, enjoy the whole experience, and enjoy seeing the boys and being with them. All right, thank you, and see you next time.